Okay, folks, so if you are looking for the standard assets, let's go into the asset store and you just search standard assets. And there'll be this first search here. You'll see it because it's titled Unity Technologies, it's made by Unity themselves. You click that and you just download and import it into your scene. Okay, and then you'll be able to find it inside there. Okay, folks, so inside the scene, basically, what we want to do is set up some interaction. Can you remember from like last semester when you were creating stuff in GameMaker, I think most people use? If you wanted that like your character moved into an area, how would you have something happen? Trigger, yeah. Okay, so a very similar concept. We're going to use like triggers, basically. Do you think for this game we'll use a 2D or 3D trigger? 3D, yeah. Now, one of the things is there's no, let's say, in Unity, there's no trigger object. Like, we don't create an object called a trigger. We basically can set something to be a trigger. So the first thing I'm going to do is go and I'm going to create a game object and I'm going to create a 2D object. Or sorry, a 3D object, and I'm going to create a cube. Okay. Gotta get some of my screen back here. And just very quickly with that screen, with that there set up, you'll see here, there's my cool trigger. If I go into it, what happens? Can I go past it, do you think? Why not? Exactly, yeah. So at the moment it's solid, like it's set to be a cube, basically. So the one thing we want to check to turn it into a trigger, there's this little checkbox down here on the left-hand side in the collider component. Did you see here? It says is trigger. Okay, and if we just check that, that's going to turn it from being a cube into a trigger. So if you click that and then press play on the game, we'll be able to walk inside this cube. Okay, so it's still there physically. Okay, so I can basically walk through it. Is that working for people? When it's set to trigger, you can walk through it? Cool, whereabouts are you? Yeah, cool. So on the cube, on the right hand side over here, the set is trigger. Yeah, and then when you press play on the game, you should be able to walk through the cube. Okay, so folks, do we actually know there if anything is happening when we walk into that cube? No. Yeah, at the minute we actually don't even know if our trigger is working or not, right? So the first thing we're going to do is set up some code to check that we're triggering it, and then we're just going to print out a line of text down here at the bottom of the screen. And we're just going to say, hey, I've entered the cube. Is that okay? Does that make sense? We just want to basically debug this entering the cube so that we know we've triggered it or not. So what I'm going to do is beside the cube here, there's this button called Add Component. Okay. So select your cube, make sure you've ticked is trigger, and then you're going to click Add Component. And I'm going to call this Interact with Trigger. Okay, you can call the script whatever you want, kind of. There's some things you shouldn't call it that are built into Unity. But something that's pretty specific, interact with trigger, if I'm looking through my scripts, I'm going to know exactly what this is. It's going to be a script that lets me interact with a trigger. When I type that in there, I click New Script, and then Create and Add. Okay, and you should see then we get this new component that we created from scratch called Interact with Trigger, and it says bracket script, so that we know it's a script. I'm definitely going to kill myself on this extension lead, so this will be my final class. Okay, folks, have people got that in? Folks, if you find yourself falling a little behind, you might be better off like watch and take notes of what's going on, and that way you'll be able to kind of go back over your notes. The video, as I say, you probably saw last week, the video went up online, and they'll go up in future for every other class so that you'll be able to see what we did. So basically, to open up the script, I just double click where it says interact with trigger, and it's going to open up the IDE, and hopefully we all have an IDE and stuff. And that's going to let us edit the code. I'm going to turn it off. Visual Studio? Yes, that's fine. So it depends on which IDE you have installed, which one it will open up. No, it won't run, and processing basically will like generate, it just won't generate files for C#. Okay folks, so the first thing we'll see here is this is a programming language called C#. And this module is not about programming, even though we might touch on it. It really is just about scripting. So it's about like getting behaviors we want with working within the engine that's there. Okay, so we're not like going to be creating our own like gravity systems or rendering systems or anything like that. We're really just going to be creating kind of gameplay scripts that allow us to interact with the game world and the systems that ENV is giving us. Okay, so So what I'm using is I think I mentioned the studio. It's called JetBrains Rider. It's one of the IDEs, but you might have Visual Studio from Microsoft on your laptops or whatever it is, but that's fine. All we want is something that lets us write code. Like you can kind of write this plain text and save it as a .cs file, and it would be fine. But some of these will give you extra functionality, basically. So in processing, if you want to, have you used any external libraries yet, like Menin or anything like that? Yeah. Is it, you say import in processing, is it? Yeah. So that's pretty much what's happening here with these using statements. Okay, we're saying we're using this, and we're using Unity engine. The first two, sometimes we'll need them, sometimes we won't, but we can leave them in there, like it doesn't cost us much in terms of resources for them to be there. We will always pretty much be using Unity engine when we're writing a script for Unity. And then we've like the declaration of our class here. Okay, so this is a public class, which means it can, you know the difference between public and private? Yeah. So public basically means that like other things can access and interact with this. If we wrote another script, we could access something here provided it's private. If it's a private class, it can only like act and work on itself or whatever it decides to work on. Yeah.
How did you want it to act on?
What IDE are you using? Are you on Visual Studio?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It might be inside in, I'm on something else, but it might be inside in View. There might be an option there or window, but I'll check in a while when I'm going around to see if I can change it there. So folks, when we create a script inside Unity, a C# script, it gives us a lot of code, which oftentimes is really useful, but for right now we actually don't need much of it. So we're going to select this entire chunk of code. Okay, so our first two forward slashes where it says start before calling the first frame update, and our second last curly brace. Okay, we're going to delete out everything, so we're deleting out our entire update function and our entire start function. To write a comment in processing, is it 2 forward slashes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same in C#. Okay, so we'll do 2 forward slashes and we'll say register interacting, or register entering a trigger. Okay, and this is just going to be our first comment so that we know what we're doing here when we come back to it later on. Sorry, I can make my text size a lot bigger because I know that's hard to see. This one I think will do. Cool. Okay, so this is going to register that we're entering a trigger. And we're going to create a new function here, and we're going to void with a lowercase v. We're going to say on trigger enter. Okay, so if you're in Visual Studio, it might start to auto-complete this first part. Okay, so if we have void on trigger enter collider other.
It's like collider other.
Collider other, yeah. So folks, what this line is doing is saying, this is built into Unity by the way, so we've access to a trigger physics engine inside Unity. But this is private, that really doesn't matter that much. JetBrains will put that in automatically just to kind of be on the safe side. Void means we're not returning anything. Do you know how to return from a function? Yeah, so sometimes like you might return for, if you had a function that was like multiplication, you might return an int or something like that. You know, so you'd multiply 5 times 5 and you'd return 25. But in this case, we're not returning anything from this. Okay, we're just going to, this is going to do all the work, it's not sending anything from us. So then we're saying on trigger enter, which is built into Unity. Okay, so this just on trigger enter words are built into Unity. And then we go brackets, collider, which is the type of thing where we want to register, and then we give it a name, so other. So if we want to find out the name of the cube, we can inside go here, go other.name. Or sorry, that would give us the name of the object we're going for, basically. So the player. Okay, I'm going to put another comment here. I'm going to say just print the name of other object. Sorry, my spelling is very poor. And to do that, all I type in is print, and then other dot name. And then if you save that, once you've it all typed up, and run your game, and you walk into the cube, you should see basically that it's going to print out at the bottom of the screen in Unity the name of like the first person player controller or something like that. Is the syntax fairly similar to processing?
Well, processing we're using C#.
Which?
Use C#
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay, cool. Original processing was always Java, but I don't know if is it Java. Okay, so they're fairly similar to Java processing, or Java and C#. Sorry. One of the things that like it won't affect us today, but one of the big differences is that like C# is what we call like strictly typed as a language, which is that like you should normally say what something is before you use it. So I think in processing you can sometimes just create something that's a var, like a variable, and like you can put the name of something in there or a value or something like that. Whereas in C# we need to say, hey, this takes strings or this takes integers. That makes sense? And that's kind of key difference between the two. There's other obviously bigger differences, but that's the one that will mainly change how we learn our code. Okay, does everyone know what this script is going to do? Which? Yeah, it's just going to print a name down the bottom of the screen. So we're going to collide with the cube, and it's just going to print out the name of whatever has collided with that cube.
Are those just regular brackets?
So folks, I assume it's been a while. It's been like 3 or 4 years since I've actually really used processing. But these will always be curly brackets where we're like starting a class or where we're starting a function. Okay, and everything inside those normally will be like here. Let's say we're using a method, and there are round brackets inside there. The round brackets here. You'll get more comfortable with that as time goes on, and as you kind of become more. I don't want to say you become really good coders because, like, some of you might not be. Like, you might be competent scripters. You know, like that's a successful outcome from this course as well. Okay, so don't think everyone needs to be able to like code to a really high level and write their own graphics engines. If you're going to be like a game designer, or level designer, or even an artist, having a fundamental understanding of code and being able to do the basics kind of is basically what you need at that stage. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to come out to Unity and hopefully it works. How do I exit presentation mode? Alt Shift Enter. So okay folks, so now if I walk into that cube, okay, what does it say down there? People read? Anyone? Yeah, it says rigid body FPS control. You might have a different FPS control, but that's fine for what we're doing for that. So do people know what's happened there?
It's registering the interaction.
Exactly. So you'll see that the way this is typed out here, rigid body FPS controller, is exactly the name of my rigid body FPS controller here. If I select this tree, I'm just going to move out of the collision so that we can see this in the 3D view. But if I like select this tree here and move it to here, okay, so that's colliding at the moment. It has a. Just want to make sure that they. Cool. What it may need is a physics rigid body component for this to work. Okay, so window. Okay, so that just caused an error there. So folks, at the moment we're getting like one message printed out, but we can actually have more messages print out. So if you go Window and General, and there's a window called Console that is basically going to open up. I think this is pretty much what you have in processing, something along these lines. Okay, but it'll allow you to have multiple lines basically of messages. Okay, so sometimes if we're debugging bigger problems, we'll need to have this open. And we can dock that somewhere there. So another window to dock to our screen. So let's just check and see. Yeah, folks, so you'll see there, this is now registering each time the tree hits off this. You'll see it's telling me that the tree, and it'll tell you the time this happens at, so 11:38:43 is 11:38:45:48. Okay. Okay, folks. Is that working for people? Is everyone getting the name of the game object printed out on the bottom of their screen? Yeah? No? Okay, if you're not getting that, will you put up your hand and I'll come around and give you one person? Okay. Yeah. Folks, if you're getting an error that's like at the bottom of your console here saying that there are multiple audio listeners in your screen, in your scene, just make sure you delete the main camera that comes into your scene at the start. Okay, so just delete that out, and that's what's creating multiple audio.
And that was an accident. I missed it. The teacher was the first class. Oh, no.
You're gonna do anything. Open it up. Well, the exact same. That's no.
Oh, you're the I made my one huge. Did you just like download it? Code's entire kit is safe. What is yeah. Don't make me want cheaper. Also, he thought that you were doing and what did you have? So G's favorite was so much of it, right? Were you using this in Milan? Oh, well, no, it would have. That was that one. Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was an open. I appreciate you coming with me. I know. Don't worry. My wife. I don't like it those red ones. You never watched it. You're supposed to get it. You never watched it. It's finished. I know. Watch the movie. Hey, now I call is your IQ too low? Is your IQ a bit good? Is your IQ now 200? You did have one for he's like, you zero. No, I'm today. The whole point is just like I don't know that game. You have a wider screen. Oh my god! Actually, Warrants. It says beast. You're so it's probably like 12 now.
Even though he's trying to help.
It's the same alcohol.
Yeah. Okay, folks. Folks, so we're going to just follow up. But the first thing I want to is why did I bother to do that with the print? It's like print. Yeah, that's basically it. Okay, I just want to make sure, especially when we're going kind of slowly here, like it's just like testing this and see does it work. Okay, and especially when you're kind of new to Unity, it'll be quite useful or quite important to just kind of test everything out as you go along and see what's working. So the next thing we're going to do is create a Unity event, which is how we're kind of going to do a lot of fancy stuff, basically. Or create a lot of interactions that we mightn't otherwise create. To do this, we need to go up here to using, and we're going to add in using Unity engine dot events. Okay, and what Unity events are, they're this really useful system for kind of sending messages and saying like, hey, something has happened, do a thing based on it. It's kind of the way the UI system inside Unity works. So basically it's like you click a button and it's like, hey, I was waiting for something to click that button, and then it just happens, it fires off basically. Does that make sense? Okay, these events, you create an event and then you kind of register objects to say like, when this event is triggered, do X, Y, or Z. Okay, explode, play this particle animation, whatever it is. Okay. We're going to create this, and then we're going to go in here, and we're going to create a public Unity event. And we'll call this interaction event. Okay, one of the nice things I like about this as an IDE is it kind of like has a plug-in to Unity when you install it. So here it's just telling me with this, like I can click on this and it says it's set by Unity, so Unity has control over this.
The first highlight was their interaction event. Are you using that because you're calling it an interaction event?
So that's what it's called. Yeah, so I created basically a new variable here. This would be the same as saying like var interaction event inside in processing. Is that how you declare a new variable in processing?
You do C++ use JavaScript, but processing is Java.
Oh, okay. Cool. So processing you would say something. Okay. So in processing you might say like float interaction event or something like that. But this is a specific data type called a Unity event. Okay. So this is a public Unity event interaction event. Now the thing I'm going to show you, the reason this is made public is when you make a variable public inside in Unity, or in C# when you're using it with Unity. If I come back to Unity editor here and I click on my cube, you will see here, well, I basically have this here and it's called interaction event. Okay? So I can, let's say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take the will I take the ground? No. Look, I'll take this tree here. Sorry, I need to create a new event. I'll go through this in a second. I just want to show you what happens here. I set this up here. I'm going to say what happens. So GameObject.set active to false. Now if I press play, and I walk onto that cube and don't trip. Okay. What's going on? So it's still picking up my, so we know this is happening. Yeah, okay, so it's giving me, every time I go through it, it's telling me it's happened. Okay, that's like, that triggered this event. So what's happening here that that tree isn't being deleted? That's kind of the way I set it up in the editor. So the editor I know is set up fine. If I go back to my C# code, okay, there's one more thing I need to do to make this work, and it is going interaction event dot invoke, and I save that. Okay, so basically I create a variable here, but I need to tell it when I want this event to trigger, and I want it to trigger when I fly with this object. Okay, so now I'll jump out. I'll show you. I'll just very quickly show that setup in Unity, just to make sure it does work, and I'm not like. Cool. So that deletes the tree. So inside this code, what we're doing, we've got our class, which is basically what we've attached to the game object, to the cube. A mono behavior is a specific, it basically inherits, so that's why it shows up in the editor. If I didn't have mono behavior there, I wouldn't be able to change the variables in the editor. I created a new variable of type Unity event, which I needed to add in. I needed to tell Unity I was using the event system. Okay, so Unity event, interaction event, and then on trigger enter, I'm going to print the name of the object, and then I'm going to invoke that event. Does that make sense? People understand what's going on there? Yeah. This is a very specific data type, and the reason we're using it, it's like probably slightly more advanced, is when you're doing programming, you won't like jump straight into using Unity events. But for our purposes of like making things work and having interactions fire off, like this, there are assignments in this module that you can get away with probably like 80% of the code for a project using Unity events, basically just firing off events when you collide with a trigger.
I'm looking at the scripting inside the Unity at the cube interaction thing.
Yeah.
It's set to effective tone, but I don't know where
Cool. Has everyone got the code written down? We're okay with that? Cool. Then we'll jump back into Unity and we'll see how that's set up.
Yeah, I tried to have it, so.
Okay, folks, I'm going to jump back into Unity there. Okay, inside in Unity, I've got the cube selected. I'll delete this out. Okay, and inside the script here, I've got this interaction event. Okay, so I know that is just literally the Unity event I just created. At the minute, it says the list is empty, so I just hit the little plus beside that. And it says none object, so it's saying it's not affecting any objects. Does that make sense? So there's nothing listening for something to happen to this. So I'm going to select this new game object here is actually my terrain. So if I like drag that in there, and where it says no function here, you'll see there's all these different options here. So this basically corresponds to different components on this game object. So I can use the game object component. So I can set it to, I can change its name, I can change its tag, I can send a message to it. If I want to hide it, I can hit set active bool to false. And so set active to true would be setting it to yes, it's currently active. Setting it to false would mean that no, it's not active. So I just go game object, set active, and basically I just make sure that box is unticked, and now if I press play, the tree should disappear. Or the ground disappears, yeah, sorry, that's what I would put in there. Okay, and I can also I can grab this tree here, and I'm going to put it in here. And this time I'm going to access the transform component. Oh, can I do that? No, actually that's fine. So what this should do is attach the tree to the player. How's that done?
It's moving.
Is it? No. Okay, so I'm not too worried about that one anyway. But it's a set. Oh, did I delete the wrong one? I did. So basically, I'm hitting the plus here. Going to select that tree. And I'm going to go game object, set active, and I'm going to make sure this checkbox here is turned off, so that's going to turn it off basically. Okay, so that's going to hide the game object. So anyone need a hand with that?
This how you this how program right there and this
So you can choose walk to the other end, we get rid of that. What if I'm making right? Yeah, if you want to cry, I get my message. Wow!
Sprint tissue. That's great. He's in high school. Super hard. Zero emotion. And the kid's not. Working around all the moments. You mean? Hey! The monitor is super special. I mean, like, everything is it does look decent. The live action. He made the live action series. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really both made. You need to find more you really think Hey, good Gary, call me. That's a conversion. I don't know about no, like how do you say, yo, wait. Why would you rather
So like, you know, when you like triggers.
Yeah, 1 week. Yeah,
Why would you say? Because
first year. So after this, you have me for design practice at 2 to 4. I just wanted to ask you if you would prefer, I don't need an answer now, you can tell me later, have a think about it. If you would prefer to go directly from this class to design practice. So you just do 4 hours and then you're done for the day. Now, obviously, we'll give you a little 10-minute break. Oh, you do have 2 hours of course. Oh, it's not on the timetable. Why is it not on the timetable?
I have you 2 to 4 hours, and then in between we have an hour break.
Yeah, so you start with John, right?
No.
Start off with that's not. Oh, it's listed as second year on the thing. Now I know why. Okay, that's why I can't do it. Don't worry about it. Forget I said anything. Hi guys. How you?
Yeah, it's listed as 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, folks. So is that working for everyone? Got your object destroyed. So the thing I'm going to show you is just kind of some of the ways we can make stuff. This is a little bit more interesting with this. Is I'm going to go to a website called Open Sound. I think it's called. No. Free Sound. So folks, what I want you to do is go to the website freesound.org. Okay, and you're going to get a sound that corresponds to whatever's happening in your scene. Okay, in your scene, if like, for me, the tree is being cut down, so I'm going to get a chainsaw sound, and that's going to play when I trigger the device. Wait.
Oh yeah. I want to free sound. That side went down. If you do. My username is.
So folks, find the sound.
That's what the sound of monkey is. Oh, it's because it's still Australian. Everyone's doing it now. Black spider. That's not as scary.
That's very
These aren't monkey screens.
That is a monkey screen. I recorded me acting like a monkey with Scratch. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, he was.
Scream of a girl.
That'd be so vague. Draw Tom Cruise. Saying
Okay, folks, does everyone have a sound downloaded? Yeah, you might have to create an account to do it. Okay, folks. So, folks, if you just want to watch that, I'm going to very quickly show you how to bring the sound into Unity. It's very straightforward. So, it shows up here for me on Chrome. I can just drag it and it's showing up the file here. I hover over the Unity tab and I just drop it into the on top of where it says assets. You'll see that highlights in blue under the plus sign. I just let go of the drag and then it shows up inside here, inside the Unity. Folks, I'm going to drag this sound from the assets folder and I'm going to put it on top of the rigid body FPS controller, basically on top of the player.
So you're facing where the sound source of sound comes from.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm just going to have it come from the player because I think that makes sense for this.
Because the player that comes down 5 feet away.
Yep. Okay, so that's the sound in the game after that, but we want to make it. So, actually, if you look at this here, why do you think it's playing at the start of the game? Yeah, so clear away is checked by default, okay, on sound when you like put my game on. So I'm just going to uncheck that. Now I'm going to select the cube. I'm going to create a new interaction event on the cube. I'm going to bring the FPS controller in there. Going to select the audio source and I'm going to select play. Okay, so now if I walk into that cube, that's it. Perfect timing.
John, when you tried the audio, where did it go?
Just into the assets folder at the top level. So, folks, when you're bringing the audio in, make sure to drag it right on top of where it says assets. Okay, and that'll bring it into the top level folder. So you turn it off. You tell it kind of later. And the whole game's around, right? Well, you got your stuff. Find out what's see it doesn't work. And then you I'm just looking into first. Yeah, but what did you it's one letter. So like there's a letter, or you're almost so maybe this is all it's impossible to find out what nursery rides are still very Irish song.
Downloaded 135.
importing the sound or putting it on? Cool. So folks, it's gonna remove this. So folks, if you want to just look up for a second, if you put like a component on something and you want to remove it, there's basically this little gear icon over on the right hand side. So in this case, I'm just going to remove this and I'm going to re-add it so that you have it, so that you see how that. So if I click on that gear icon, I can click it and it says remove component, and that's going to take away the audio source. Then I'm going to drag the audio back onto this game object. I'm going to turn off play on awake. Okay, so that doesn't play when the game starts. I'm going to select my cube, drag in my rigid body FPS controller, and instead no function, I'm going to go audio source and play.
I was messing around with something else. I had to have my computer problem what I've done is I've set two trigger boxes at the top of those stairs. Oh, no, so you go on the stairs and walk. Oh, you're mad. No, you don't. Like, you use it for a year.
Oh, we're in the computer room for yeah, right there. We're in the Photoshop and then
I heard one of
So that would cause issues and basically change the player will forever an object. The player
sorry, he's the alpha chat.
So it's actually part of that issue before like
That sounds never made.
Not sure what it is.
okay.
Oh, wow. You know what LGBT stands for? You sign up on yeah, if you honest, get people. It doesn't want to like has a download it.
You do a great job.
You do all that.
They're making this stuff up.
Yeah. If someone goes into Audacity and spoil like that, I will put that. Boring the one. Oh my god, just no.
Yeah, that was so much.
What did you get for examples?
They make you look tall.
Exactly. Where did you get them? Great advice.
Oh, every girl wants
Same thing. You won't wait like
Where does that sound coming from?
So many schools
You've worn 3 the past 17 shows. The same old Joker!
No, it's not. There's been like 2.
No, this is the second one.
I mean, okay, distracting.
How about doing it by the right gesture?
What is that, 0?
Yeah.
Yeah, put the battery.
No, which that's it sucks. I was like,
I'm going to put their name.
Like this. I know this is like amazing that
HP style.
I am
It's like we don't have
It's gonna be when we go. You working today?
You're just a bit late.
Samuel Jackson
You can tell that like jobs Does that have a job? Any legitimate I was like, do you ever play Skyrim? I was like, what do you do at home? Just stare at it, look in the mirror. Those games are you want to see. You gotta it's your iOS. We're standing from being definitely at the top. No, it's the game on the session. You guys not not great. How much free time do you have?
Yeah, it's all about it. You have to shake it. Look what happens. You gotta press the shake. We should do. I think so much rates like between there. So I think make a game. Yeah, there are a few things in there, and then the games like we have to like. You have to be like up and
This is the best Discord. Oh yeah.
These like game design course, they have good games to do. Well, are we all here to make money?
No one plays Minecraft.
I play Minecraft. You're the only one who does play Minecraft. No, I play Minecraft. Minecraft is a good game. Is that what?
What is that?
Because he whips on and have you tried it with the Brian Visual Effects yet? Like got the sound thing going? Oh man, it's so fun. Like a bit stuff. Yeah, exactly. You push the guy and then you must use the one down. What is it called?
So folks, too late now. Folks, we're going to look at just doing a couple other little things with this, and we'll kind of move on from this then on, well not move on, but on Wednesday we'll look at like kind of how to make your shit look nicer, and we'll look at some particle effects and stuff. So one of the really nice things about this system is that basically we don't have to hard code a lot of things. Like we didn't have to hard code there when I collide with that, destroy an object and play some audio. Does that make sense? The only thing we're coding is like when we interact with something, like anything that's listening to that interaction will respond to it as we say we want. So it allows us to do some kind of nice programming without too much work. So we can do stuff as well here, like let's say we will go through lights, but let's say I create a spotlight and put it over this tree. And okay, so I'm going to make that spotlight quite bright. And I'm going to change the color of it a little bit. Okay, purple. And I'm going to increase the intensity. Okay, so now folks, if I press play, we'll just see how this looks first in the scene. You'll see that that tree is there highlighted, and I go change my direction light as well so that it's more nighttime. It's sort of dusk-ish. Okay folks, so that'll show up a bit better there. So basically, again with that, I can select the cube here, create a new action, and I'm going to get my spotlight. And this time I'm going to go game object, set active, and I'm going to set it to be active, and I'm going to select my spotlight, and I'm going to have it turned off at the start. Okay, so now when I go press play, okay, there's no spotlight. Okay, there's then a spotlight on the treatment. Yeah, exactly.
It's just like trading.
Very hot.
Instead of people, it's trading.
So does that make sense, folks? We can basically layers features on top of it. One thing we need to do here, well, actually if I go into a scene, what's kind of gross here?
The big white block.
The big white block, yeah. So all I need to do to fix that is to select the cube. And you see it has a mesh renderer component? Okay, you can just click the tick box there and it's no longer going to render a cube. Before I follow it. Okay, and then you'll see there, you just see the outline of it, you don't see the cube itself.
So in game it's invisible.
It's invisible, yeah.
So
yeah, you
can
still see the walls. You see, I'm thinking of someone in the room.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. So basically, what I can do then is I'm going to just select this and I'm going to put it over here beside the tree, and I'm going to scale it up. Okay, so it's something like that, either side of the tree. Okay, and this green box here now shows me my collision radius with the tree. So now if I press the play button and I go over near this tree,
Emergency.
and I could also do, now this may or may not work well, but let me just check to see what happened there. This might stop my audio working. So folks, can you see the problem, the kind of issue at the minute with the way I'm using the script? Sometimes you might want this to happen. Okay, so place the audio. Very long audio clip for what I want to demonstrate. But then I go back in. Okay, if I don't want it doing that in this specific case, there might be sometimes you want that. Like you might have NPCs in the game that are always going to be annoying and say, "Oh, hey there, friend." And you might want that every time you go to them, they repeat that audio back basically again and again and again. So folks, the thing I can do is disable the script. So after the first time it interacts with it, the script should be disabled. So let's just make sure that works. And now if I go into no. So I could try disable the game object, but I don't know how well that works. Okay, so we can basically destroy the cube game object there. Because of its size, you can keep playing it. But basically our cube object is destroyed here. So what we're doing is we're destroying the tree, we're killing the chainsaw noise, we're turning on the spotlight, and then we're destroying the tree. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're kind of layering this interaction here. Things we'll do on Wednesday is we'll try and add in some particle effects. So we can get some like wood chips or explosions as we cut down the tree. Probably explosions as opposed to wood chips. But we'll have some of that stuff happening as we like cut down a tree or interact with stuff. And then we'll also look at some other kind of ways to kind of change the screen effects and stuff to make the game look a little nicer in general. So some of the lighting effects. Okay. So any other questions on that?
The question is how do you push the stairs?
Push the which? Oh.
Like,
Cool. So inside Pro Builder, you gotta create this, and you gotta create a where is it? Stairs here. And you see here where curvature is set to 0. As you increase that, so that'll do 90 degree, 360.
How to get it
Oh, sorry. Let me just show. So you hit that mirror option, and that'll flip in the other direction. You can change like the width of the stairs as well to make them wider. You can change the inner radius if you want them like to curl around themselves, basically. That's right. Oh.
Yeah, it's like me.
the main guy that can go.
The sound effects?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'll give you a hand there. Sorry, I'm trying to get up my steps here.
Yeah, just the
You got another audio?
I do have.
that's what it said.
This wasn't a choice.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not so good.
No, you see too far.
After you break this up. It is, I know. Famous of blue.
That's what
So you should start removing this like people just like the video, they will do this like I'm not going to dislike the video. See, they will do this like so many likes. You should take
we don't need to change.
People am I wrong? No.
Am I wrong?
Oh my god. Is that no, we can just join
Every time.
Cheers, folks. That is us.
It works.